Hello to the traitors and faithful alike. Welcome to the Cup TV, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I am your girl, Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to give the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea. Her. And if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up. I am currently just drinking water because hydration is important. But if I was drinking anything else, I will be drinking it out of my cup mug. And you can get your cup mug at lanagcreation.etsy.com, where we do ship internationally and domestically in the US. So there are no excuses. And I'm looking at you, UK. I'm looking at all of you. Get your cup mug or merch, period.
Ta-da!
Welcome back, traders.
It's me, David Healy. And I am a year older, which means I'm closer to being on the hit list for all of these UK people because they love to murder and banish old people. But I am just drinking some water today.
Period.
A full bottle.
Oh, look at us. We got more water than we usually do, David.
It does.
Look at us.
Hydration
is important.
Mm-hmm.
And as you see, me and David, we were up to some trickery and debauchery in our last roundtable because we got rid of a traitor in Logan. We did it, David. We did it.
And we're going to share the money.
Oh, we're sharing the money. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right?
Yep.
You're sharing with me, right?
Of course. Why wouldn't I?
I mean, right. Because, of course, I will share it with you.
Dot.
Yeah, right.
We'll see who's here next week.
Who might be doing it alone next week?
Uh-oh.
Somebody might get recruited. We might recruit somebody.
Right.
Who knows? But yes, y'all, we are talking about Traitors UK episode 4 and 5 and 6 because, yeah, they're all out. And we had to wait a while for them. So that's why we're recording this a little late.
They spoiled us last week by dropping them all on Wednesday. And then this time we had to wait one day at a time. And then I had a busy weekend because of my birthday.
Absolutely. So we just was like, you know what? We'll wait. We'll get them all together, and then we'll talk about it. You know, it's a couple days. It's not hurting nobody.
Right.
But before we jump and dive into that, we want you to subscribe to this beautiful channel of ours. And because we talk almost all things reality TV, and we put out content almost every single day about reality TV. So if reality TV is your thing, is your gig, then this is what you should be doing. This is where you should be checking us out. Hit the subscribe button to follow. Share with your friends. You know, some people who like reality TV like we like reality TV. Share with them, and then have you all subscribe here and follow us, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a recording. Also, if you're a fan of drag race, anything drag, we cover almost all things drag on our main channel at the Cup Pod. It's the Cup of Reality. That's the channel. Go check that channel out, and hit the subscribe buttons over there also. And if you're a fan of Eurovision, you can also go to our Eurovision channel, the Cup ESC, and do all the things over there because content is coming out almost every single day on both of those channels as well. We're working hard to give you all the good stuff that we would love to talk about. So, and if you want to support us monetarily, we appreciate that too. Go over to our main channel and hit the little dollar button on the bottom and give us a super thanks, and know that all the money that we get from you goes right back into this podcast to help make us better. We want to step up our production game, period. And with your help, we can do just that. So there's that. So we got all the business stuff out the way.
We did.
Good. Now it's time to get into the fun, the meat and potatoes of why we are here. And that is Traitors UK. Because they left us off on a little cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to see who was going to get banished between Ash and Brian. And, they just left us hanging. And I was like, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But it all came down to one vote left, and that was Anthony's vote. And he voted for Brian.
Am I or amn't I getting banished? You am.
You am.
Yep.
You am.
I felt very justified in my confusion last week because I watched Uncloaked, and the host was also like, "Wait, I've never heard anybody say am I or amn't I?"
No, I was very confused too. So I was like, amn't I? What does that even mean?
I was like, do they all say that over in the UK?
Right, is that a thing? But I'm glad it's not a thing. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting to for that, and Brian's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I
feel bad for him.
I felt bad, but not that bad, honestly, because he kind of did it to himself. I fear he did it to himself. Now, but the thing that made me go was now Ash is sitting there, not gone, with Paul and Harry just voting for her. And they're all traitors. I was like, oh, I can't wait till this traitors get together tonight to talk about this. Because if I was Ash, I would let them have the business. Like, they would be getting the business from me. And I was hyped, David, I was hyped. I was like, let's go. Let's get to the traitors meeting. Let's go. I was ready to fast forward a little bit. I didn't care about nothing fluff in between. I was like, let's get to the traitors meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw a little bit of like interaction right after the round table before they got to the tower, where you saw Paul and Harry come up to her and they're like, "Oh, sorry," and she's like, "It's okay. We'll talk about it." And I'm like, "Well, she's got her game face on there. She's being nice until they get to the tower, but then there's going to be fireworks, right?"
Right. I was like, let's go. I was about to say, she about to give them the business. She about to let them have it, and let's go. And the clock strikes midnight, and everybody leaving and going back to their own rooms to rest for the evening. I'm like, okay, let's
Here
go.
It comes.
Traitors get in there, and they take off their little cloaks. And I'm like, give it to him, Ashley. And she gave her nothing.
To be fair, she starts off by saying,
I'm pissed.
I'm very effing pissed off. That's how she starts.
I was like, yes, give him the business.
And then that was it.
That was it. I was like, girl, fight. Say something. Like, make them feel bad for turning on you so fast and so quickly. Like, we can shift the narrative if you really wanted to shift the narrative, but y'all chose not to shift the narrative and y'all just came at me. So now how are we go fix this? Or are we just now... Is it traitors versus traitors game on? Like, you coming for me and I'm coming for you. Like, I was wanting to see her fight, and she just didn't give me anything. And I was so up. I was like, no, I want to fight.
Watch Australia season 2 of the Traitors if you want to see that. If you want to see some drama in the tower.
Yeah, I that's what I want. I want the traitors to feel like, because I feel like a lot of people think being the traitor, it's such an easy task, and if you're the traitor, you got a really good chance of winning this game, which is true if for some people, and for most of the the Traitors that I watch, the Traitors had won. So it's kind of like, yeah, but I also want to see the back and forth, the tension and the pull, with being the Traitors, and like they shouldn't trust you, and y'all shouldn't trust each other because you could turn on each other. And I wanted more fight, but we didn't
True.
get
I
more
mean,
fight.
well, how does the saying go? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So it would not have been a smart move for Ash to go up there and like just start laying in on these guys, because then they would make it so obvious. Oh, we can't trust her. Oh, we got to send her home next.
If I go home, I'm going home with a fight. I
Right.
promise you. I'm not gonna go home just quiet in the night like she did. Like I just think she just stood there and took it and listened to it. Was like, it's okay. It's okay. I get it. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. I get it. It's fine. I understand. I was been like, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's your excuse? You sticking with that story? Okay. And you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. All right. And you didn't know. You ain't know none of this was happening. Okay.
I
All
am
right.
curious what you thought of their excuses, because they had two very different ones. So we hear Paul tell her basically like, "Oh, my whole thing at the round table is that the quiet people should be the ones leaving, and so I had to vote for you to stay consistent with the character I was, but I didn't think you'd get other votes. I was just staying consistent." And then Harry's like, "Oh, I thought Brian was for sure gone, so I was just going to throw a random vote on you, um, just to not make us look as close." What do you think of their excuses?
You see his face?
I thought one
I
was better than the other.
I thought those were a bunch of malarkey and baloney. I was like, and I would have been like, absolutely not. First of all, Paul, what you mean it wouldn't fit your character if you voted this way because people are quiet? Was I the only quiet person at the table? You could have voted for any other quiet people at the
Well, I
table.
mean, it
Like
was a tie. At that point, he only
the
had
first, it didn't
three
have to
options.
be a tie. It didn't even have to be a tie if he wouldn't have voted for her in the first place.
He
But that's
didn't
what I'm
for
like,
the first time.
yeah, he did.
I know he didn't. Did he? He voted
Did
for
he?
somebody else. It was only in the tie that Harry and Paul voted for her.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
But
You're
I
right.
mean, Brian, I
But
mean, he was
Brian
known
is
as a sheep. Like, wouldn't it make more sense
sense to
to
vote for
vote
the
for him?
sheep.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, no, you purposely was trying to come for me. You wanted to get rid of me. And honestly, I was just like, in this moment, at this point, I was like, I am not a fan of these Traitors here. Just because I was like, I see what y'all doing. I know what y'all trying to do. And I know they don't probably go succeed at doing what they trying to do because it's already the ball is rolling right now. And I was like, it's really nothing people could do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ball is rolling. And I don't feel like it was any coming back from that. It was like the writing was just starting to write on the wall for Ash at this point. For
Right.
me, in my opinion, I was like, I don't even know how she could recover from this. If she could, I just don't know.
Oh, you know what? The best way to recover is just to be removed from the situation and have zero social interactions with
Right.
people. No way to
Mm-hmm.
improve your situation.
Your situation.
I think that's the way to go.
I just I just wanted to scream at my screen today. I was watching it. I was like, okay. So I'm gonna jump right to that. So we get a knock at the door after they go through that little I thought was gonna be a fight, but not really a
Mm-hmm.
fight. And so we get a knock at the door. The host comes in and she's like, Traitors, tonight will work a little differently. You will not be murdering anyone tonight. Like, oh, you are going to send 4 people to be condemned into the basement in the dungeon of the castle. Where it's dark and it's wet and it's cold and it's unpleasant. And you will You will send 4 people to be condemned, and they will not be able to talk to anyone, and they only come back in time for the round table. And I was like, oh,
And it can't be
interesting.
Zach and Jasmine because they
No,
found
they
the.
got shields.
Yeah.
So they got shields. So they are safe. But I was like, okay, interesting. And you know what the traders decided to do? The traders said, you know what? Because Paul said, I'm pretty popular. I think I'll go down there to throw them off.
Because
The
somebody's
scent.
going to get saved by the group somehow.
Yes, they find that out, that somebody will get saved. So Paul is like, I'm pretty popular. So I think I'll probably end up getting saved. He didn't say that out loud, but he was like, I think I'm going to get saved. So, but my plan is to just take one for the team. Eventually, like, I'll go because we need to have a trader down there so we can hear what's going on, what they're talking about, and we need to throw the scent off of the faithfuls to, make sure they don't think. So I'll go down there, and you know what I think you also need to do, Ash, since you got so much heat on you, maybe you should go down there too. Don't talk to nobody. Don't have no security. None of that. You can't build up, like David said, you can't build up your social game with nobody. I want you to stick downstairs. Lay low, girl. Just lay low. That's what we want. That's what they already saying your name. So, but I think right now you just need to lay low. So we'll take you down there. So it's 2 of us down there, 2 of us up there, and we can all be ears to hear what everybody's saying. And then we'll take 2 people who we won't mind going if they go. You know. And I was like, hmm, interesting. And Ash like, you know what? That's a good idea. I was like, no, it's not.
No. Here's the point of the episode. I do this a lot when discussing the traders. If any of you are out there and you're thinking about going to be on the traders, let me give you some advice.
Please do.
So I've watched a lot of the traders, and they do this sort of twist quite a bit. And I will tell you, every single time, the people that are on the list that are condemned, everybody else considers, wait, could these be traders that are double bluffing? But you know what they never do? They never look at everybody else and be like, wait, is this person only not on this list because they're a traitor and they're keeping themselves safe? No,
Right.
they don't do that because there's too many people to have that conversation about. When it's a small group of people and you know one of them's going to get murdered anyways, it's so easy just to pile on. And I feel like almost always, like more often than not, we see people from that group get banished because people are expecting a double bluff. So don't do it. And especially don't do it with 2 traitors. What the heck? This was I've been complimentary of this group of traitors. This was terrible. This was awful. Especially for Paul.
Right. It was
Paul
a
was
bad
in
move.
such a good spot.
Yeah, I was very complimentary of these traders as well, but I was like, this move was not the right move. It was super stupid because it could have like truly blown up in their face if it went the wrong way. And it almost did. And I kind of would have like been like, whoop, whoop.
To be fair, though, this didn't affect Harry or Miles, so they're like, how does that saying go? My name's so and so, and
My
I'm
name
not
Bennett, and I ain't in it.
That's it.
My name's Bennett, and I ain't.
Although I will be critical of one of them later on, and I'll be very complimentary of the other one later on. So
I'll be, yeah, I'll be critical of one. I'll be critical of I'll be critical of all of them at one point in this conversation. So, but
Okay.
um, so they made the decision to send in Paul and Ash, and then Andrew and Meg were the two other people who they decided to send to be condemned.
Mm-hmm.
And
And this is where I have my question that I've wondered. I'm like, okay, so what happens if a faithful gets saved and then a faithful
mm-hmm.
gets banished? What happens? Do they have to murder one of the traitors?
And we find out
Right.
no, they
Claudia
can't.
answers for us. They cannot.
Claudia said you cannot murder a traitor. So therefore, everybody will come back to breakfast the next morning if that happened, which will blow up the spot. Like,
Yep.
I see the two of you are traitors, and it's like we get one, and then just know the other one banished the next. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's whoever stays, their time is limited to the next round table. At that point, it's like all
Right.
right, but it was about to be some, it was interesting. So they're in the dungeon, and it's gross and cold and whatever. And the players come into the breakfast the next day, and they're like, "Who's not gonna be here?" They still waiting on the one person to not show up, and
Claudia shows up early.
a little bit earlier than they expected. Four
Yep.
people ain't come back in there, and they were like,
Like, was there a COVID outbreak?
"What
Did
happened?
people quit?
Somebody
I
got
would be so
disqualified?"
confused.
I mean, and you saw the looks on their faces. They were like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yeah, that would have been me." I'd be like, "I don't know what's going on," but she says, so four of your fellow players have been condemned, and they will not be competing in the mission. They will not be around for anything, but they will show up right in time for the round table. So I'll see y'all at the mission. And she leaves.
And immediately, I think some of the condemned are traitors. I think Ash is over
And
here.
she's definitely true.
Yeah, I think Paul is probably a traitor. And Harry and Miles are listening,
Like,
going, "Oh, oops,
oh.
uh-oh."
They were like, that didn't go how we planned it to go. Did
Immediately they
it
find
now?
out.
Yeah, no. No, it did not. It did not go as you suspected it would go. People were like, definitely traders are down there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, the traders put themselves down there. One or two of them. I think it's Ash. I think it's Paul. I think it's all right. It was like, I think it's Meg. Meg could be a trader. Da, da, da. I have my suspicions. Baby, this went on all throughout this episode of the suspicions between Ash and Meg, mostly.
Yep. And some
Everybody was
Paul
like,
sprinkled in.
Paul sprinkles in there. And
More
they
to
were like,
come later, though.
yes. But it was like, I think it's Meg and Ash, and that's just who I think it is. Da, da, da. So we go to the mission.
Well,
Unless you
I
have
want to
something
talk
else.
about, sorry,
Go
before
ahead.
you jump ahead, I want to talk about one of my favorite conversations of the season
Okay.
so far. And that is between Ross and his mommy,
Oh,
Diane.
Jesus Christ.
So we see the two of them talking, and Ross is telling her that he's very confident that Johnny and Ash are two of the traitors. Um, and Diane's like, yeah, but you also were very confident that Sonia was. And
Mm,
he explains to her, no, actually, I didn't think that she was a traitor, but I thought she was going to be the most likely to sniff them out as a duo.
mm,
So he wanted
mm-hmm.
to preemptively get her out so she wouldn't be able to do that. And then Diane says, that's very sneaky. You weren't brought up to be sneaky. And Ross is like, yeah, I'm sneaky. And I just cracked up at that interaction, especially his, yeah, I'm sneaky.
To me,
I don't know.
I'm glad you enjoyed that. I'm very glad. To me, I feel like the whole Ross Diane storyline is just kind of stale. I'm kind of like over it already. Like I don't
Oh,
care. I don't care that they're mother and son. It's just like, mm. I mean, it would have been more like interesting to me if they were mother and son, and one of them was a traitor and one of them was a faithful. That would have been
Then
more
they would just
interesting to
tell.
me. You think they'd tell? Because
I
then you
think
just
so.
go cut me out at the end because you know.
No, well then the incentive there is for the non-traitor part of the duo to work with their family member to actually like get rid of the traitors until Ross is if Ross is a traitor, let him be the last traitor standing, and then Diane sacrifices herself and the other faithfuls and just lets her son take home the money and they can split it.
I would just, it would be so much interesting if they had two people who were just like gamers, like
Hmm.
a mother and son who game. I'm not telling my son nothing. Why would I do that? Like, I want to play the game, and if I want to play the game and figure out if I can play this game being an actual trader and not depending on, "Oh, I have someone on the
Hmm.
inside who can help me on the other side." No, I don't
Hmm.
want to do that because it's like then that just negates the whole purpose of us coming out here and playing against the or playing this game. Now, for me, with them together, they just like both faithfuls. They both playing together. We're both trying to figure out who the traders
Hmm.
are. Sure, it'd be cute if they won together, I guess, maybe. But I think it'd be because I like seeing like even Diane in the episode is kind of like, I don't know if Ross is a traitor. It could possibly be a traitor. He hadn't told me he wasn't a traitor, but maybe he's a traitor. I don't think he's a traitor,
See,
but
it's an interesting dynamic.
maybe
Lana's
because
not a
Ross
Diane
is.
Ross fan, apparently.
I don't really.
You don't like Diane
mm,
Ross.
I'm not a fan of Diane. Ross
Diane
is fine.
Ross.
Not Diana Ross. I love Diana Ross. I don't like Diane and Ross. I like Diane. I like Ross. It's the Diana part. I don't like Diane. But no, it's I don't know. It's for me. I'm just kind of like, all right, the storyline. I would
Fair.
rather one of them been the traitor just so I could see the dynamic. But yeah, I guess I can see your point too. They could tell each other, which I feel like.
That's the smartest way because otherwise you risk, okay, so my mom's a faithful and now she's sharing the money with a bunch of other faithfuls.
Right.
Like,
I, I mean, unless you just get her off at the last minute and be like, "Sorry, mom, I was a traitor,"
yeah.
and she would like, "Absolutely." I would respect that so much coming if I had a son. Like we came into this game to play this game, but not together because we're our own. In this game, you really have to be your own individual player, right? I think you have moments we have team moments, but
Hmm.
like at the end, who knows? Maybe I'm just thinking too much into it. Anywho, we do go to the mission. Do we go to the mission? Can I go to the
We
mission
do.
now?
We do.
We go to the mission. And the mission.
So they
Which
are
mission?
separated into two teams and they are going to be gathering as much gold.
Gold nuggets. That's
Yes.
right. Ooh, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so they basically are digging it out of a big like dirt mound, and
Mm-hmm.
then they have to run across these little platforms in the water and try to put them on these scales. And there's two different scales, and it becomes a competition between the two teams, because the team that gets the most gold, they get to save one of the condemned.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Now the blue team has both Miles and Harry on
Yep,
their team, and so Miles and Harry are like, oh, we got to win this so we could save
Paul.
Paul. But they want to save Paul out of the thing. We need to be the one to win this, and so we got to do it. And
Hmm.
so they say Claudia says go, and folks go, and folks fall
A
a
lot of
lot.
people fall.
A lot. A lot of people fall into the water. Platforms is like this, very shaky. Folks have to jump from platform to platform,
Hmm.
and a lot of people just ain't making it. They just
Miles could not do.
Miles. Miles
Harry
said,
was
"I
good.
know." Harry was, I mean, I don't expect anything less from 22-year-old military Harry. I don't expect anything less from him to know how to jump from thing to thing in the water and make it. Miles was like, I know my strengths, and this is not one of them. And I was like, no, no, it's not. But you know who was killing it though? Molly. Molly
Yeah.
was like, bloop, 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 bloop. And Jasmine, toot, toot,
Hmm.
toot, toot, toot. I was like,
I
yes,
did like Johnny in it too. He was like belly
yes.
flopping from
Each
platform to
one.
platform
He was
like a
like, look, I
frog.
got one leg and I don't mind taking bumps. I don't mind hitting my face. I don't mind cutting my arm. I'm just gonna get across this platform. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, Johnny. I
Hmm.
see you. Work. But it really was no competition after a while. It just was a blowout. The red team ate this competition down. They
They
got
really did.
$3,000 on their own. I was like, whoop, well, blue team was just it just didn't work. But they ended up getting $5,000 in the pot, which I'm like I'm saying, they got
Hmm.
$5,000 in the pot, and the blue team got 3,000 of that 5,000.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was a blowout, and so the red team gets to decide who they are going to save, and
They're
they
debating
chose
between Paul and
yeah,
Andrew.
Paul and Andrew were the two people
I
that
was
they were
thinking they were
like,
gonna do Paul.
I I thought they were going to do Paul as well, but they did not.
They did not indeed. They chose
They chose um Andrew.
Andrew.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We
I
chose to
had
save it.
I had immediate thought. Immediate. I don't know about you, but as
Mm-hmm.
soon as they said Andrew, I'm like, oh, bye Meg.
Yeah,
Because 100% there was no way for Meg to survive now because she's either getting banished or
yeah,
getting murdered.
absolutely, absolutely. And I was like, well, here we go. I said, well, Meg, it was fun while it lasted.
Yep. I'm
Because
like,
now
glad
we
I
got
didn't draft her.
it. You know, I'm just like, well, girl. So on the ride back to the house, people were talking about what they wanted to do, who they thought would. Everybody was still fixated on Ash, and some people were still fixated on uh, Anthony, and Zach's name was still being thrown around, and
Zach's
Johnny's
focus on
name.
Paul.
Zach is now focused on Paul, and so it's kind of like a lot of names is just being thrown around where people are like, I just want to know. But I still think, like they're like, I still think from last night's round table, this is still lingering in my head. I'm kind of figuring that this was all a setup, making the traitors being in condemned. I know it's some traitors being being condemned. It's
Hmm.
still all this stuff playing in their heads, and so they were still trying to figure out what they want to do for banishment.
Hmm. Yeah, there was not a lot that stood out to me with these conversations. They seemed pretty like what we've heard a lot, what we've expected.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was just waiting till the moment we get to the roundtable because I was expecting fireworks.
Mm-hmm. I was like, this is gonna be good, and yeah, I was waiting.
Hmm.
But we get to the round table. Let's just go there. We
Yep.
get to the
Let's hear
round table, and they banish the condemned people come back, and so they're like, "Who wants to start the conversation?"
it. Well, first they announce to the
Oh,
condemned people that Andrew has been saved.
baby Paul's look on his face was like, I know he wanted to have a huge reaction, like, "What?
Hmm.
You didn't save me?" But he was just like, "Hmm?"
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, Zach or sorry, Ash and Paul should both know I have no choice but to push for the other one to be
"Yep,
banished.
absolutely."
Because if anybody else is banished, well, I guess the only The
They
only
could
way,
banish Andrew
yeah, I mean,
and then save Meg to die.
true, that's true. But the worst case scenario would be Meg is banished. So that would be my fear as a traitor who's on
Mm-hmm.
the condemned list. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
cannot let there be a possibility that Meg goes home. And hearing that there's some heat on Meg in this,
Mm-hmm.
that makes my vote very clear. I have to vote for Ash. I have to vote for
Absolutely.
Paul.
Absolutely. And I was like, when Zach brought up Paul,
Hmm.
if I was Ash, I would have jumped right on that bandwagon. Like, yeah, like how do we not look at Paul? How do we not see this? How do we like the minute somebody brings up Paul, you have to jump on it because he surely jumped on it the minute Ash his name came out. He was like, I just think it's you. Even down in the condemned room, you were acting weird. That was like,
Hmm.
this ain't looking good, girl. It didn't start good for her, and it just got worse and worse and worse throughout the table, throughout the whole discussion. I was like, I don't think she had a chance to even say anything to that would sway anybody's mind off of her, except Zach, like who was not on the Ash bandwagon. But
Yeah.
people were stuck.
Yeah. It was it was definitely interesting because this was the first time we saw Paul and Harry like openly say, "We think you're a traitor, Ash," like
Mm-hmm.
at the round table, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't ever call out her name before that. So you
Mm-hmm.
could tell that she was like very devastated by this. Luckily for her, there was a glimmer of hope here when
Yes.
Jasmine brings up Meg's name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jasmine says to Meg, like, all the other people on the condemned list, they look scared. You don't look scared. And Charlotte agreed with her there. Um, but I mean, I would have been surprised if Meg did look scared. Like, she's not super emotive with her face, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was in character for her.
Right. I feel like a lot of people a lot of people took little things and they were looking for little nuances or little characteristics of somebody or that what they think is somebody's character. Like, oh, I think
Hmm.
you smirked it or you don't seem scared here or I don't know why you are looking so stoic. Like that's like me coming to a round table like, David, you don't seem as upbeat as you usually are. Like David is never super upbeat. What are you talking about? He's a very chill guy the whole time, like very even. But now I'm gonna take that characteristic of you and twist it into, oh, you're a traitor because you're so calm and
Hmm.
collected and you never showed that much emotion. It's like, has he ever? That's not something that is a normal character. And like Meg, like you said, Meg is not super emotive. Like she has never been the one at the round table, like, oh my god, you guys, I'm so scared. Like that's never been her.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Honestly, this is basically like confirmation bias of the game. If you suspect somebody,
mm-hmm,
anything they do, you can use it as evidence against them
mm-hmm,
because you've already convinced yourself. And I feel like that was the case with a lot of these people here, um, especially because people are just so happy to not be one of the names.
right.
So they're just going to drill in these other names as much as they can. I did want to bring up where Jazz brings up Paul. Um, this is making me nervous because I do like Paul and he's on my
Mm-hmm,
draft team, but he's like,
mm-hmm,
you've got this cheeky smirk, and I'm wondering why you don't seem worried.
mm-hmm.
Um, and Paul, like, yeah, he tried to defend himself, um, but I don't even remember how well he defended himself. It's been a week since I've watched, but
It,
um,
I mean, he kind of was doing the Paul thing, like, yeah. I mean, it's just my personality. It's just
mhm,
who I am. It's Paul is he's just got everybody wrapped around his little finger. Like Paul can do no wrong to some of these people, which is annoying and but interesting to watch at the same time because it's like
So you got to
Eh,
smile, but you can't smile too much.
too much. You don't smirk. Just I don't know. It just seems weird.
hmm But then I think is about the time we get to the vote, and
Yeah.
it's a pretty one-sided vote this time, unfortunately. So we just see the votes coming. So Ash, Ash, Ash. There's a few stray votes, but it's overwhelmingly Ash, and
Yeah.
Ash is banished.
She is Spanish. It's, it, it,
And she goes
I'm not
up.
surprised.
She
Nobody
goes
was
up
surprised.
to tell whether or not she is a traitor. She gives her little speech, and end of episode. I'm like,
Are you what?
why are you leaving off on a cliffhanger on whether or not she's a traitor when we know she's a traitor?
I was like, this is the stupid cliffhanger I've ever seen in my life. Why
I
are we
know.
leaving this like this?
Not only do we know she's a traitor, but we also know who's getting murdered.
Right.
So
Like, why are we leaving this to the cliffhanger? Like, they could have went all the way up into the murder, and then we could have left it. Well, we know what's going to happen. Like this, it was just
this was my least favorite episode so far, but
yeah,
I really loved the first three. But this was just a big step down for me, honestly.
yeah. I was like, oh, come on, this is a dumb thing to do, but whatever. So, but that was I said 4. It wasn't episode 4. It was episode 5.
Oh
We're
yes,
going into. I said I don't know why I said step
we
4.
rewound to the beginning of
Yeah.
episode 4.
Well, we go back to episode 5. Yeah.
And how does
But
it start?
I don't know. Maybe trying to guess which one is actually a traitor or not. I don't know. We only watched the first 3 episodes where she was a traitor. It was stupid, but we come back to hear Ashley's whole speech again,
Yep.
just to tell us she is a traitor.
Yep.
And they're like, "Yeah, we got one. We got one. Woo!"
I will say this. I watched Uncloaked, and Ash was on there. She was being interviewed, and her whole presence and personality in Uncloaked, I just adored. She has the most infectious laugh. Like, she was just laughing nonstop. I had to go find her on Instagram and send her a message telling her how much I appreciated her for her short time on the show, and she responded. She was super sweet. So I love Ash. I think she's great. She should come join us sometime.
Sure. But then we go to the obvious part of the show, another Captain Obvious moment. Who's gonna get murdered? I was like, why they even having the traitors even meet? Just write the letter and send it to the girl. We all what are we doing? Like, why are we doing that? It was weird. But the traitors meet and they're like, this job makes it easier for us, I guess. Cause
Yep. They're like, our plan worked perfectly.
Right.
And to be fair, if that was their plan to get Ash out, like,
Yeah,
it wasn't really made clear to us, but it
no,
did work.
it did work, but I was like, was it clear? Was that?
Yeah,
But um, I think it was clear with from Paul's point of view. I think Paul was like, this is what he
true.
wanted. He wanted to get Ash out. Harry wanted Ash out. I think that since the vote before didn't go, they wanted her out. So here's where my distaste for these traders popped in for a second, because I feel like Harry and Paul both think they're just the smartest people in the world. They just think they're the smartest people in the whole entire world, and they know everything. They know better, and my plan worked just like I suspected. Whoa. It just felt very smug, very I don't know. It just to me they just felt like we're the smart guys. We know what we're doing, and we're the smartest traders. Everybody else is background players.
Fair. I get that more from Paul. I see a little more humility in Harry personally.
Mm, I will say in these next couple episodes for me, I think the smugness rubbed off on Paul and rubbed onto Harry because it was just the way they were talking about things about in the confines of being a traitor. Is like I like you're stupid. Like I can't believe you don't know what's happening. They don't know the half of it. It was just like little smirky. It made me.
We should
just
all
I don't
aspire
know.
to have the confidence of a straight white man.
It just I was like, yep, we should all have that confidence because they were both a little like more so, like I said, I agree with you more so Paul than Harry, but I think Harry had his moments of just like, okay. And I think they think they're the smartest guys ever. And I feel like in my spirit, I kind of see where this is heading with the amongst the traders and how they want to end up, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. So they start calling themselves the Traitors 2.0. I think Harry said, we're only as strong as our weakest link, which is not true. That's actually not true at all for the Traitors because your weakest link, they're expendable and that helps you. That helps you. Like you don't go down with them. You thrive the more a different traitor is taken out. So, but I get on paper why he would say that because it's just a thing people say.
It's
Just not accurate.
A thing people say, but not accurate. So of course they do their thing. They send their note. They go down for breakfast. Everybody shows up, but everybody's like, "Meg is coming. Paul is gone.
Oh, yeah.
I
It's
hate
gotta
that
be
for
Paul
It's definitely Paul.
because Meg is a traitor.
Meg is a traitor, and Paul has to go. We all could call Ash. We knew Ash was a traitor. We got her, and it's Ash and it's Meg, and so poop. That's what it's gonna be. Hate it for Paul, but he go. And Miles and Harry are sitting there like, you think it's Meg? Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Meg too. Everybody, yep, I agree. And then the door opens on the final draw, and Paul walks in, and everybody goes, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! No, Paul, we're happy to see you, but oh my god, we thought you were dead."
Yep. And right before he came in, Zach said to Diane and Ross, he's like, if Paul comes in, he must be a traitor. And they didn't agree with him.
And
Honestly,
said, no.
That would set off red flags for me with Zach because I would think, oh, you're framing Paul. You're framing Paul to be a traitor, and you're the traitor. Because I don't think it's as black and white. And I have theories on what Paul should have said as his defense. The more this gets brought up, but I'll discuss that later on.
But, yeah, Meg's gone.
Yep.
And so Claudia comes in. She's like, Meg is gone. She's been banished. It is what it is. Let's get ready for the mission.
Yes.
And they were like, okay, see you there. It was kind of like everybody was so shocked that Paul was there that they didn't really know how to process that Meg was actually a faithful. Because in their minds, a lot of their minds, Meg was 100% traitor.
Right.
100% traitor. So it was kind of interesting to see how they were like, I don't even know what to say right now.
Yeah. This is where it gets kind of interesting because we're seeing some different conversations. So first of all, we see a few like sprinkling of Ross saying, "Oh, I think Johnny's a traitor," but really, a lot of the focus is on Paul, and so many people are defending Paul. They're like, "Yeah, it's not Paul. It can't be Paul unless it's a double bluff, but it's probably not Paul." But then you see like some confessionals. We already found out Zach thinks, yeah, Paul, it could be Paul. Then we hear from Evie in a confessional, like, I think it could be Paul. I think it could be Paul. And then we find out Jazz is also like, it could be Paul, but nobody is wanting to say that. So I don't even know if I can tell anybody. So
Right.
there's a bunch of people that do think it's Paul. Just a lot of them are afraid to say it openly. I think Anthony also was kind of in that boat.
Anthony was kind of like, are we not even thinking about that this is possibly a double bluff? Or are we? He was like, not wanting to accuse Paul, but he was like, we still need to look. Like, he's like, at all the different scenarios. We need to think that maybe this is the avenue that they took, or maybe this is not the avenue that they took, or maybe this is the lane they went down. Like, he was like, he's like one of these thinkers, like, we need to think of all the scenarios before we come down to a conclusion of one.
Scenarios,
exactly. And I was like, ain't nothing wrong with thinking about all the scenarios and trying to figure out which one do you think is more, more leaning toward the right side. But the minute he says something, folks are like, I think it's you. Like,
yep.
What? I feel like you deflecting on what happened and what's going on, and you deflecting it off of you onto yourself and onto me and onto everybody. I was like, oh my God.
He's got a mist. Paul's got a little bit of a mist.
He does. I could. We said it early on when we started the first episodes. We were like, we think Paul is giving us that Magic Mike mist from Canada. It's just like, people just don't see past the nice guy that is Paul.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well. But people are still talking and trying to figure out. Here's the conversation that interested me. It was Jazz was talking to Jasmine, and I think it was Ross. And he was like, if I want to put this out there, because if I'm murdered, I think it's Paul. And they were like, you think? And so Jazz was like, huh? No, I'm feeling like it's Jasmine. And Ross was like, no, Johnny. She's like, how's this Johnny?
Yep.
And Ross is like, I've always had this thing for Johnny. I think Johnny, since day 2, I've been thinking it's Johnny. He's like, they're like, yeah, we. Jazz is like, I'm just saying something. I'm just putting it out there because I'm not gonna bring it up because Paul is so popular. I don't think people will get behind me on that, and so I'm not. And they were like, but if you feel that way, you should say something. He was like, I'm not gonna say nothing because against Paul, because everybody come and tell me. I don't know. So they were like, if that's what you feel, and I was like, okay, Jazz. Okay, Jazz, which is fine. So if I see you.
I do have some more advice for anybody going on the Traitors, and this is not blow up in Jazz's face,
right?
But
it can.
It can. If you go to somebody and you say, if I'm murdered, then this person is a traitor. What if you say that to a traitor? Yep. And you're talking about a faithful, and they want to frame that faithful?
Absolutely.
They're going to murder you.
Absolutely.
So I would not throw any hypotheticals out there. Like, if I'm murdered, so and so, don't say it. Keep that to yourself. Because okay, so yeah, if you do get murdered and they are a traitor, you're out of the game. So what does it matter at that point anyways?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, David. So I will give you that. But so they go to the mission and they have to run from the castle to this long trail to take the cannonball that they have. And they're going to have to catapult this cannonball all the way to the target. But the catapult is not fixed. So they have to put it together themselves. And so along the way of this long path, they're going to find pieces of the catapult. And they have to take it and run to the catapult and put it together. Simple enough. Everybody go and grab some pieces. Along the way, there are some safety shield boxes and you can take it and bring it with you. The only way those count is if you cross the line with the safety shield box. And then, and only then, will whoever brings the box can shoot the cannonball that's in the box, and the closest to the target will get safety. It was an all or nothing challenge. You can get $10,000 in the safety shield or nothing. That was it.
Yep.
So, cut dry challenge. It was like, really just grab the stuff and go. And everybody did it. They got the thing there. They got the catapult put together. Charlie released it. Great. They got $10,000 in their pot. Along the way, Ross and Molly got the safety shield thing. They shot the cannonball, the catapult, and Ross ended up with the safety shield.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what happened.
Yeah,
it was very cut and dry.
It was my least favorite challenge so far, and I'm already not a huge fan of the challenges. But I was like, honestly, though, I did think for a moment that, oh, they're not going to be able to do this in time, because it just seemed like a lot to set up, to build. I know they had 90 minutes, but to build a whole catapult, I would not be able to do it personally. But I'm not very good at constructing things. I put together a bookcase, and it takes me way too long, and I usually mess something up along the way. So I'm like, yeah, there's no way I could do this.
Yeah, I think of myself as a good puts furniture together kind of person. I can do it. It's those rare occasions where they don't turn out right. Like I have those little hospital stand things, that tables that they have in the hospitals. I have one of those, and for some reason, I ain't know for some reason, I lost the thing. One of the tools went inside of the thing, and it can't come out. And so now my table doesn't stand right. It just leans like this. It just leans.
Oh no.
So now I have a very useless table in my room that leans. And so I can't even put nothing in because everything slides off. So but I do have a TV stand that I built that is strong and sturdy. My two nightstands that I built are strong and sturdy. So I feel like I could put stuff together, but there's the off chance that I don't. So I would have sucked at this probably.
Yeah. Your catapult will be leaning to the side.
Catapult lean,
it would fall over,
and it won't go over. Like the ball wouldn't even go to the target.
Yeah. I think this must have been way easier than we were expecting, because
probably
it seemed like Evie got it on the first try, and she was so excited about it. Or no, it was Charlie.
Charlie. Yeah. I mean, they got it.
Getting them mixed up. They will be standing right next to each other, Evie and Charlie, and I'm like, which one is which? They look so similar.
I agree. I'm like, I can't tell them apart until they name them on the screen. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Right.
But we did find out that Charlie is deaf, and she wears hearing aids in this challenge. So I was like, oh, something I didn't know. Good to know. All right. Good on you. But they got the money. They got the shield. We moved.
We do.
So weird. Get back to the house. People are still trying to figure out what to do. Who do we feel is a traitor? And we have a conversation in one of the rooms with Jasmine and Johnny and Paul, and it's a lot of people in this room. And Jasmine's just like, Johnny, I think it's you. Nope, I think it's you. He was like, oh, you do? And she was like, I do. He was like, why would you think it's me? So she goes to try to explain herself. He keeps cutting off. She's like, wait, I mean, but you want me to tell you, but you keep cutting. See, you still doing it. So you don't want, okay, you don't want to know. Okay. He was like, no, I do want to know. And she was like, you just keep cutting me off. I was like, oh, this conversation.
Yeah.
Maddening.
I don't think he had bad intentions with cutting her off, but I could understand why that would be annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he was doing it on purpose. I just think that's what he does. That's just, sometimes people are just cutter offers and they just do that. And I'm like, stop doing that. And
yeah,
like,
but I'm just kidding.
I want to just say my part.
Yeah.
Frustrating. Yeah, I've seen conversations where that happened. I've been in conversations where that happened. I've been the one who cut people off. So I've been all parts. So I understand. But
And that wasn't even the most tense conversation of the
no,
night.
no.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Anthony and Zach. I didn't even quite understand what was going on there. But huh?
I said, me either.
Yeah, it just seemed to get like they were raising their voices, they were frustrated. And I'm like, what is happening? What is happening, guys?
So weird. Don't know why everybody's so mad. But I guess it's a tense situation. Everybody's tense. So,
And
but
honestly, they're on the same side because right after that, that's when Anthony is like, he tells Ross, we should try to vote out Paul and test this double bluff theory.
right. If they would have talked like civil people, maybe they would have realized that more than one of them thinks like that. But like they don't talk to each other like
Right.
civil. Like
It seemed like from that moment, I think it was the very first episode where Zach went to Anthony and told him that he heard his name. And it was just awkward. Like I felt like they never were gonna connect after
right,
that moment.
right, right. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're at the round table now.
I think so.
So yeah, at the round table happens, and conversations have to be had
Mm-hmm.
because now who do we who who do we vote out?
Yep. And Ross starts the conversation. He immediately calls out Johnny. And I'll be
Mm-hmm.
honest, this whole episode, I was like, they are setting up stuff with Johnny. They
Yep.
are setting it up. We like from the very start, we heard about it. We're getting his backstory. We're hearing
Yep.
Harry talk about how connected he feels with Johnny because they're both military. I knew where this was going.
Mm-hmm. Me too. The second he said it, I was like, "Oh, well, well, Julie, the writing's on the wall for you."
Mm,
And it just went on. Like people were like bringing it up and saying how yeah, his when he comes to the round table, his demeanor changes. But when he's not at the round table, he's very happy, very smiley, very joyful. But when he gets to the round table, or when anybody brings up traitor talk, he shuts it down. He goes into himself. He doesn't talk about it. And I was like, maybe he just don't want to talk about it.
mm-hmm.
But this is the game. The traitors have to talk about traitors, shouldn't you?
Yeah. This was one of the weirder ones for me because I didn't feel like there was a lot that I found to be like concrete for why they were thinking it was Johnny. It just seemed kind of random.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them think it. There were a few other things that we heard. We heard Miles call out Zach. We heard Anthony call out Paul, like mentioning, "Oh, you weren't murdered. You should have been murdered. Why weren't you murdered?"
Mm-hmm.
And we also get Zach calling out Anthony. So there's a few other names. UK, I swear, and we're already seeing it with US. They pile on. They pile
Yeah.
on. UK, they're not afraid to just spread the wealth when it comes to
Right.
these votes.
They're like, you know what? Everybody can get one. You can
Right.
all catch a stray. You can get one. You can get one. You can get one. UK US is like, who the name? Okay, yep, that's it. That's it.
Yep.
Everybody, we all going that way. It's interesting.
It is. Yeah,
So,
I kind of like this though.
I do too. I kind of like it where it's not a pile on because I feel like the pile on just I don't know. It seems very ugly to me.
Mm-hmm.
A
It
pile on
seems like
situation.
groupthink, herd mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying this aspect, but yeah, it's pretty straightforward still. Even with a few smattering of votes here and there, we get our next Spanish person.
Yep. The writing was on the wall for dear Johnny.
Yep.
Sorry, Johnny. Johnny says, look here. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not hurt. The best thing about this is I get to go see my son, and I'm happy about that. But I am a faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, no, no. Oh.
Mm-hmm. And
And Harry's
Claudia
like,
is funny here because she comes up and she's like, you all got rid of a really, really good faithful. She's like inserting her opinion this time.
you know, you got rid of a good faithful, one of
A
the good
really,
ones.
really good one.
Really good one. And everybody's distraught. Harry is. And Evie comes and it's okay, Harry.
Was that
It's
Evie or
okay.
was that Charlie? I wrote
It
down
was,
Charlie, but I
it
could be wrong.
was Evie. Oh, David. It was
Oh
Evie.
no. Oh no.
She's like, it's okay. No, Harry, no. No, Harry, no.
In
It's
this moment,
okay, Harry.
did you think Harry's acting or did you think this was genuine?
I think it was a genuine response because he did have such a connection with Johnny. He hated that he had to do it, but he knew he had to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the sadness of it was a very genuine response, but I think it was just like I think he was playing it up a little bit more because they want people. He wants people to believe that he is just that faithful. He is
Right.
that guy, and this was the hardest decision, and then he hates it because he was wrong. So he's
Mm-hmm.
playing it up, but I do think it was a genuine emotion from him because he did really like Johnny, and they had the whole military thing and that brotherhood from the military in all military forces that we've seen. It's very real. It's very true, and a lot
Right.
of people take that to heart most of the time, and especially I think I see in the UK, they definitely take that brotherhood to heart when someone in from the military. So I think it was a genuine response, but
Yeah,
I do.
I agree. It wasn't until Harry walked off and you saw like the cameras follow him
Hmm.
and he was in like some room
That
by him
boiler room,
completely
yeah,
by himself and he's still so upset and I'm like,
yes,
"Oh, okay, this is real." But I'm like, "Yeah, you have to know that this works in your
mm,
favor as well." Um I don't think he
absolutely,
was focused on that in the moment, but I think he knew in the back of his mind because if I was there, I would not for a second think Harry was a traitor after this.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was like, oh, he really is not that. And he was really hurt and upset
Mhm.
about it. So yeah, I would have been. I think he, like I said, I think it was genuine, but I do think, like you said, in the back of his mind, he was like, "Oh, this is gonna work for me." So I'm gonna
Yeah.
play it up a little bit more. I'm gonna walk out.
Mhm.
I mean, because like he could have sat there and been mad, but I think in the mind he was like, "How can I make this even better?"
Mhm. And I'm going to be honest, in this moment, and I still feel this way, I think Harry is doing a phenomenal job as
Oh
a traitor.
yeah,
Like top tier.
absolutely.
One of the best trader games I've seen so far. I think the only people I would certain like I have to see how well he does the rest of the season.
Right.
I do think he has a great shot at winning, but the only people I would put ahead of him are Sari and Alex from season 1 of the Traders Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's really even hard to judge those two because Alex was recruited so late, but she was like almost sociopathic with
Mm-hmm.
how well she she could turn on the tears in a second. Like she's oh my gosh, you need to watch season 1 of Traders Australia just to see Alex because she's so good. But Sari was so good, but she was good from the start. So
Right.
Harry's third for me behind those two.
Right now, I mean, I feel like if you just I would have to wait and see how he ends this game
Mhm.
before I can start putting him in a tier of
True.
because as of right now, like from the traders that I've seen, 3 is top tier,
Okay.
and then Mike would have to come next because
Sadly.
That's all I've watched. Um, but if I go back and watch the other Traitors, which I probably am because I really do enjoy Traitors, I'll be able to hear the rest of them. But I think he's doing a really good job right now of keeping, and he knows how to play it up. Like he's like he's playing that part. He makes everybody believe he's a traitor, and then when he goes to the traitor's lair, he's kind of like, well, let's play the game. Who we got to murder next? Sure, did it suck to get rid of my boy? Yes, but he had to go, and I was like, it was better. I felt like it was better for him to get rid of Johnny now than to wait until he gets to the end and the money is in his grasp and he can smell victory and he trusts you, only for you to take the money and be the traitor. I think that hurts worse than getting rid of him early, so he don't even feel like he got a chance at the money. You know what I mean? If you take somebody to that end and they feel like, wow, we got this, I can smell the money,
right?
And then come to find out the person you were the closest with is a traitor, that stings worse.
Yep. Just ask Suri.
Ask them, Quentin and
Andy.
And that stings the most. So.
Yep. Well, we do see another important conversation after this. Jazz is talking to Harry, and he once again is like, Harry, I think it's got to be Paul. It's got to be Paul. And don't tell anybody I'm telling you this, but if I do get murdered, remember, it's Paul. It's Paul. Yeah, I think my time's up. I think I'm going tonight.
I was like, ooh, well, now you're not. You could have been, but now you're not because you just told the traitor, and the traitor ain't gonna let that happen. So you just saved yourself, Jazz. Unbeknownst, you just saved yourself another day because unbeknownst to you, you just told the traitor that, and so then traitors go get to the lair, and Harry's like, "Look here, Paul. Jazz is got your name in his mouth. He said if he died tonight, you the traitor." Paul's like, "What? You said that? Well, can't kill Paul. All right, we can't kill Jazz. That's fine. Jazz ain't going nowhere. Who do we think we need to kill?" So
I do want to interject that I don't think it was a bad move for Harry to tell Paul this information.
No, absolutely not. I don't think so either. I think it was a good move for Harry to tell Paul. The bad move comes later. But no, it wasn't.
Not from Harry.
Not from Harry. This is a good move for Harry to tell Paul that he is being suspected and called a traitor if this happens. Perfectly good move to make what you would expect from the traitor who heard the news to tell the other traitor who it was about. Right. That only makes sense.
I'm going to be so annoyed if this blows back on Harry.
It could. It could.
It very well could.
It very well could. But we have them discussing who they should murder. And first they were like, we need to play it smart here. We need to do it somebody who is not going to cause any blowback on us, where people can pin it on us. They said Diane was a suspect.
And Harry says, I love her though. And I'm like, you all have come a long way, because you remember Harry did not like Diane at first.
And honestly, I think he lied. I think that was just because
so?
I'm like, yeah, I don't think that was real. I'm like, Harry, when do you love Diane? Okay. But
we probably just haven't seen it, but they've probably gotten closer at this point.
We'll talk about that at the end of the episode. How much Harry loves Diane. But then
Miles suggests Tracy.
Yes. It's like nobody's really looking at Tracy, and she doesn't feel like it wouldn't come back on us. And then they were like, and then if not Tracy, Charlie.
Charlotte.
Oh no, it's Charlotte. I said Charlie. Charlotte.
Too many names that are
too many
confusing
C's
here.
and confusing, and people looking alike.
C's and
Man,
J's.
everybody look alike. I don't know. But Charlotte, and I was like, oh, yeah. But I was like, in my head, I was like, if you take out Charlotte, though, Paul, that's not good for you because Charlotte is 100% loyal to you and will listen to whatever you say and do whatever you say. Charlotte is the number you keep with you around so she can say, I trust you, and then you snipe that money away from her. Like, but
I'll be honest here. I was hoping they would take out Tracy. I know they've been killing off all the older players, but Tracy's just not giving me anything. She's by far the most boring of our psychics that we've had.
I can agree. And you know what, David? Your wish came true. I jumped. I know we jumped
You
the
sure
gun,
did, but that's okay.
and I don't really care because honestly, Tracy wasn't. I agree. She wasn't giving. She wasn't giving. Everybody makes it to breakfast and like, oh, who's not here? Tracy. Oh no. But you know who did have a reaction to Tracy being murdered? Claudia.
I love this.
Claudia said, you know who's not here? Tracy. And she grabs her picture off the wall and she holds it to her chest. I really like Tracy. So I'm going to keep this picture. There I died. I screamed.
I just imagine her like putting that picture up next to her bed or something.
On her nightstand, like, Tracy, I loved you. You were great. I was like, wait a minute. Was Tracy related to Claudia? Was that her auntie or something?
Maybe she gave her a good reading or something. I don't know.
Something. I don't know. But Tracy was loved by Claudia, and Claudia kept that picture, and I screamed. I was like, yes, Claudia. Work.
Yes. And she also was like, you all have lost 7 faithful and 1 traitor. And we will be hearing numbers coming up a lot this episode. But I do want to like make it clear, like, okay, yeah, they've lost 7 faithful, but 4 of them have been out of their control because they're not in control of who gets murdered, right?
Right. No.
So that's not really fair completely.
But sure, you're still 7 faithful
or 5.
down.
Wait, 5 have been murdered, I think, at this point. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But they were
no, it is 4, sorry.
So she says we're going to I would usually tell you to get ready for a mission, but the mission is tonight. So I'll see you tonight. I was like, oh, I wonder what this mission could be.
Definitely not one you just saw.
No, it was definitely not the one I saw on the US. It was absolutely the one we saw on the US.
Well, it's funny because I kind of had the opposite thing. I was watching US and I'm like, oh, it's definitely not the one I just saw on UK. Because we watched them in different order.
We did. I watched UK late and David watched US before UK before he watched US. I was kind of like, oh, it's definitely not the one I just watched on the US. And they were like, not the one I just watched on UK. And guess what? We were both right. It was the same one. It was the same one. But any conversations happened in between that was worth mentioning?
Yeah, there's a few things. So Anthony, after Tracy's murdered, he was like, oh, I think this is Zach. Zach's trying to pin it on me because Tracy voted for me at some point.
Well, Zach said that first to him.
Oh, was that it?
Zach said it first. He was like, I think they're trying to pin it on you because Tracy voted for you. And he was like, when did Tracy vote for me? He's like, she voted for you one time. And then so when he left,
that's right.
Zach left the room and everyone was like, I think Zach did it. He the one just pointed out that was the case. And no, I didn't even think about that until he said it. Yeah. I was like, oh, Zach. Don't say that.
We see a few other things. So Miles, he is trying to throw some suspicion on Andrew and Anthony to a group. And Diane, she remembers Ash saying that we weren't looking in the right direction. So to her, she's finally going to let Anthony have a break. And she thinks it's going to be Andrew that she's going to go for. Meanwhile, Andrew throws out Ross's name right in front of Diane.
She was like, she wasn't having that.
Right.
I said, Mama better go come out.
Yep. And she tells us, she's like, I really don't think he's a traitor. I guess there's a 1% chance that I think he could be a traitor. But no, he couldn't be a traitor.
Could he? I don't know. Maybe? No. He said, well, somebody's saving me. And I think maybe he's saving me. But I don't know if he's saving me. Because it could be saving me. But he didn't say he was. Oh, no.
I think she's playing it up.
Yeah.
She probably is really like 0% chance that he's a traitor.
You think? I think she has. I believe the 1% because you gotta have 1% chance thinking that that person could actually be a traitor.
Maybe.
Who knows? I would think you were a traitor. 1% of people think you were a traitor.
Me?
Absolutely, because you would be the most unassuming traitor ever, and like nobody will believe you were a traitor. And I'm like, is he a traitor? Is he saving me? No. Maybe 1% of me think so, but I wouldn't say it though. Right? Nah. I don't know. Oh man, but she had that 1%. Any other conversations? Because I don't really think it was.
We fast forward to nighttime challenge.
It's the nighttime challenge, and they are going to the grave sites, and they're going to go grave robbing, and for bags of money and a shield, and they have to go and avoid getting caught by the spotlights. And I was like, yay. The only difference from this challenge on the UK than in the US, they broke it into teams and had substitutions for when somebody got out. This one, everybody go in, everybody go look at the same time.
Yeah. First of all, there are less people in the game at this point than there were for US. So I think that's part of the reason they did that. But also it's really interesting to be watching the two back to back because they were filmed back to back. And we saw it with season 1 and 2 of or both of the first seasons for Traitors. And now we're seeing it with the second seasons for Traitors. They're following a lot of the same patterns as far as challenges goes, twists goes. And what's really is interesting to me is that I feel like we're seeing US adjust things based on what worked and what didn't work in the UK. Like, honestly, I think the reason in US, spoiler, we saw 2 traitors picked at the beginning instead of 3 is because we saw them recruit in both seasons. But I think that they watched UK and they're like, you know what? This group of traitors, they were doing really well and not getting caught. So we want to have things not be so easy for the US ones. So we don't want to have as many traitors. And honestly, I think that's why they had 2 to start with a 3rd recruit. So it's really interesting to compare the 2.
Absolutely. I think you're right. I agree. But we see them all running into trying to rob the graves and finding things. I mean, typically things happen. People get caught by the light. They sit out. They find things. It took them a minute to figure out how to do to not get caught by the spotlight.
Even with Miles' help?
Miles' help. Miles took it upon himself to go to the platform, to stand above, to show everybody, to guide people and to keep them from the light. And after a while, folks was like, why are you doing that? We can see our own way to get away from the light. Like, We don't need you to tell us. And then after so many people got out, they could have done that.
Right.
And he could have been a body that could have been in the game. But Miles was just like, I'm gonna tell you, no, move. Move. No, the light's coming, the light's coming. Just listen to me. I was like Miles, this was not a shining moment for you, my guy. Like,
this is where I'm starting to get a little critical of Miles. Because he's not reading the room. I know they're not in a room. He's not reading the outside.
He's not reading the crowd, the atmosphere that they're in. He's just not reading. It was just, I was like, oh, Miles, if you don't get your butt off of that platform and start running around, like, look like you're trying to help. Look like you're a team player. Don't look like you're so comfortable where you know.
Yep. Even Harry and Paul were getting annoyed.
Yeah, they were good. Paul was very much annoyed. Very much annoyed by Miles. And it got to the point where they were like, Miles, come down here. He was like, oh, okay.
Reluctantly.
I'm like, Miles, I get it. We don't want to run. We don't like running. It's why it's tiring. We're fat. It hurts. Everything hurts after that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But sometimes you just got to suck it up and do it. At least look like you're doing it. And if you get out like, sorry, guys. Ooh, I tried. Like, you have to at least try. But he finally comes down there now after half the cast is out. And it's like 8 people left. But they do really well in this challenge. Eventually, they catch their rhithm, like
especially our girl Diane.
Diane ate this challenge up. Not even gonna lie,
with her bob flopping in
the wind. Diane was like gazelle running.
That's exactly what she looked like.
It was so funny. I was like, all right, Diane.
She's got to be growing on you, right? This was a better bet. I do think she's finally like not being so one-track minded with things. I feel like she's a bit more loose and just enjoying her time more. So I like Diane.
I'm still very indifferent to Diane. Not liking, but I moved up to indifferent. Because before I didn't like her. Now I'm indifferent. I'm like, I don't like her. I don't not like her. I'm just like, she's there. Sure. If she goes, she goes. If she stays, she stays. Whatever. So I'm
also, we do see Jasmine find a shield.
Yes.
Yep. Nobody tried to yank it from her. So
no, that's a good thing about that. You know, people are very respectful in the UK about their shields. We saw in the last challenge, go get that shield. Go get it.
Right. Go get it, Ross.
Go get it, Ross. You got it. Like, everybody's very, very polite about the shields. Nobody's fighting each other for the shields. That's only in America we fight for the shields. Okay.
That's our third. Is that her third shield or her second?
Jasmine's second shield.
Okay.
Her second shield.
Well, good for her.
So good for her. You know, don't get murdered. And if she keep talking the way she's talking, she probably won't get banished if she stay on the right path. We'll see. Even though she thinks she's crap at this game. But so yeah, Jasmine gets the shield. It comes down to Anthony and Zach, of all people, to be the last 2 people standing.
Best friends.
Besties. And but they ended up with 7,000.
Yep.
Out of $10,000?
It was 7,250.
Yes, out of 10,000 euros.
Pounds. They Brexit, remember? They don't use euros anymore.
I thought it said euros.
No, they don't use euros anymore.
Well,
not since they left the European Union.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Brexit.
Thanks, Brexit. Pounds it is. And so, but they got a bunch of them, whatever it is. And they were excited. And yeah. Then we get in the car and Paul is like, did you see Miles just standing up here on that thing like that? Like, what? Like, what is he doing? Why was he doing it? What? That just, I was like, oh, that made you mad, huh, Paul? That made you real mad.
You mad, huh?
You mad, huh? You mad. You big mad. You mad. Okay. But yeah, he was upset about it. Little people. But I thought it was gonna get more blowback than that.
Yep.
And it didn't.
It
I was
didn't.
like, shock.
But I will be critical of Miles again near the end of
Okay.
this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we get back to the mansion, and pretty much immediately, Anthony and Zach are like, "Yeah, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you."
It was just like, yep, it's you. Yep, it's you. And all right, fine. And Harry is like, I don't
not
know.
infighting on Team Lana.
Right. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Can't keep nothing. But people always mad.
Oh wait, no, Anthony's yeah,
Logan.
Logan's, never mind.
Never mind. Me
I
and
thought you
Logan
had
always fight, so it's
right,
fine.
there we go.
But Harry is like, you know what? See, I don't know. I don't know about this Zach dude because I'm back on Zach. I was on Zach before, but now I'm back on Zach because even if he's not a traitor, he is a crap faithful. Like
Mm.
he's just not a good faithful. And I would rather get rid of somebody who's not a good faithful and keep the strong and have a strong team than if we can't get a traitor, I would rather get him out regardless because he's just a crappy faithful and I want him to go. It just doesn't make any sense. And Andrew was like, I know, right? I agree. He's just not a good faithful. And Anthony was like, hey. So this three was like, yeah, that's what this is the thing right about this Zach dude. And then Zach goes and he's like, Jasmine. Yeah. And him and Jasmine and Molly in the hallway, he's like, they're coming for me. And she's like, I got you. I got you. And Molly's like, we got you. Don't worry about it. And he's like, Anthony is just not, he's not a good person. They're like, yeah, I don't trust him. His demeanor's changed. Everything about him has changed. I don't think he's right. Something ain't right with him. He just believe he a traitor. I do. I 100% believe he a traitor. And they're like, we got you. We got you. So I was like, uh-oh, we rallying the troops.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And so we go ahead.
Oh, the only other thing that before the round table that stood out to me, and I get why you're saying Harry's overconfident, because we have a scene where he's giving a confessional and he's like, nobody suspects me as being a traitor. I'm like Harry Potter with a cloak of invisibility. And I was like, that's actually a pretty good, but you know what? He's confident and right,
I mean, he's
because
right.
they are not suspecting him.
No, they don't. Like I said, sometimes being cocky is not always a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to have that cocky spirit or that confidence and that air about you that so people won't suspect you. People won't. And I think he's playing it right, but I still think it's just like it must be nice to have the confidence of a straight white man because
True.
it's like everybody ain't got that luxury to be so like playing the way that they are playing and being okay. Like Ash couldn't even play the way they're playing because as soon as she did anything, this woman gotta go. We don't trust her. It's an interesting dichotomy and dynamic to watch how different people can play and how different people have to play, you know? And so I don't think Harry's confidence is a bad thing at all. It's just sometimes I wish we all can play with the confidence of a straight white man and get away with it because he's like, no, dude, I'm coming for you, and you don't even know it. I get to go and sneak it like the thief in the night and be the good faithful by day and the evil later at night. It's so. I was like, yeah, must be nice. That's fun, and I want him to have all the fun in the world. He should have all the fun in the world playing this game, and it's fun. It's funny to watch it, and it's interesting to see. But I'm like, my problem with them is they feel like they're just the smartest two traders. Like I think they believe that Miles is expendable to them, just like
Mm.
Ash was expendable to them. And I feel like in my gut that they will come for Miles next. They don't plan
Mm.
on going to the end with Miles. I believe Harry and Paul want to go together. But I also feel like if the heat get too hard on Paul, Harry will have no problem cutting him.
I completely agree with that.
He will have not a single F to give
Mm-hmm.
on Paul. He gonna be like, he gotta go, he gotta go. It's the game. And he gonna justify with it's the game. Just
Yep.
like he did with Johnny, it's the game.
Part of me
Which it
thinks
is.
Paul is also willing to get rid of Harry, especially with
Absolutely.
what he does later on.
Absolutely. I do. I agree with you on that.
Mhm.
But we get to the round table. And I forgot
Yeah.
who starts this conversation.
Yeah. Charlie starts it off. She calls out Ross and she's like, "You almost seem like a professional traitor with the way you rallied everybody against Johnny." Which is kind of true. Like he
Very true.
clearly had a lot of influence. We talked about it. There did not
Mm-hmm.
seem to be great reasoning for going for Johnny, but everybody just listened to Ross.
Mm-hmm.
We also see Harry once again, as he pretty much always does, call out Zach as a traitor. And Ross speaks up and says that he feels the same way. But Zach tries to defend himself, saying that his thoughts are always grounded in logic, even if he does like change his mind a bit. Diane and Charlotte, they defend Zach a bit here. Who else? Oh, Diane, she calls out Andrew. This is another one where we get a lot of names called out.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte backs up Diane that it could be Andrew. She thinks that his behavior, he's behaving the same way Ash did when she was accused. But Jazz says Andrew doesn't contribute names to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And we're definitely seeing more and more on these franchises that is a good way to get attention on you if you're not contributing names to the conversation. Next up, we see Jazz call out Paul. He says, "Why are you still here? Why are you alive?" And here, I alluded to it earlier. Here's what I wanted Paul to say. They kept me alive because they knew everybody would start suspecting me for being alive. That was their way of getting rid of two birds with one stone. They could kill Meg and put a target on my back. I wish Paul was saying that to people because that is a good defense.
True, but it's a good defense.
Yeah, he just hasn't really brought it up. He's just saying a lot of like, I don't know why I'm alive. Yeah. So Jasmine says she doesn't think Paul is a traitor, so she's defending him. Jasmine calls out Anthony as a traitor. Here's where things get a little interesting. She calls out Anthony as a traitor because of how he diverts questions. She says he's completely different from how he started the game. Once again, we're hearing that. So, and then we get from Anthony. He says, "Are you finished?" And she is not having that. She's like, you don't have to be rude to me. And he's like, no, I was just asking if you were
Diane
finished.
said, "You don't have to be rude," and she was like, "I'm not being rude."
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, I don't think he said it to be rude. Honestly, he was like, "Are you finished?" And they were like, "You don't have to be rude." He was like, "I'm not trying to be rude. I just don't want to be called out for interrupting her, and she's not done."
Right.
And they took it as he's been, "Are you finished?" And I was like, that's I just feel like he couldn't do anything right for
Right.
these people. And he's always be aggressive.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I did sense some annoyance when he was saying, "Are you finished?"
I didn't.
But I can understand why he would be annoyed. Like, I would be annoyed if I'm being called out as a traitor. Once again, for my personality, like, he cannot escape this. So I don't think it was anything like he was trying to be rude to Jasmine. But yeah, I did think he was like annoyed, which is fair.
I was like, he is not. It wasn't. I've done that, or people have done it. Like, "Are you finished?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm finished." Like, but people, I guess people are used to being talked to certain ways and different kind of ways, because him saying that to me, I would be like, yeah, I'm finished. So now what do you have to say? Because that's how the banter goes on. But they're like, they don't have to be rude. I was like, that's not rude. That's just how he sometimes we are aggressive people. We talk aggressively. We just got a little extra oomph in our conversation. Everything we say is not to be rude or mean. It's just how we talk. Talk that way.
Even Evie is saying she thinks he's changed, or
He's
Evie.
changed.
You're going to be 8-1 down. 8-1 down.
8-1 down if you do take me
a
out.
shot for every time you hear 8-1 down. Go. That's Anthony's new catchphrase, is you're going to be 8-1 down.
Here's the thing, though, and I talked to David. I said to David off camera, but I'm going to say it now. I feel like people using the fact that he's changed his demeanor from the platform where they were just introduced to now. Absolutely, he did. And guess what? So did everybody else. You know why? Because when they were on the platform waiting for the train, and on the train, there were no traitors amongst them. Everybody was on equal playing field. Everybody was talking and trying to introduce themselves. There was no game to be played yet, because everybody was the same. Now it's different, because there are traitors amongst them. There are people lying to them. And he does have to now buckle down and like, okay, now I can't be happy-go-lucky all the time, dumb, carefree. I got to look and focus on who is telling me the truth, who is lying to me, who's a traitor, who's not. That's going to change people. And half of them have been changed. All of them, honestly. Their demeanor has changed from the platform to now, because they're in game mode. It's a difference. I don't care who you are. When you turn on a game mode, you switch. Your demeanor has changed. And he's thinking about this all the time in the house. He's walking around thinking, focusing. Who's lying to me? What conversation did I have? Who said this? Who did that? So yes, his demeanor has changed. I don't think that's the reason that you call out that this person is a traitor, because their demeanor has changed from the platform to now they were in game mode. Now, if his demeanor changed from the round table, if he went from he was happy-go-lucky at the round table at the first, he got there and everybody, and then he was like, but once and even then, I'm like, no, let me change that. Let me retract that, because yes, even then, the game is now on. You have liars among you. Of course you're going to change. I was just a little annoyed by that. Like, he's changed from the platform. You were so happy and now you're not. No, because he's in game mode.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. Like, I'm extremely competitive when I'm playing games. So I can look really serious and I often look really pissed off, which is like when people, like I tell people how competitive I am, they're like, really? I wouldn't have guessed that about you. But I'm like, oh yeah, I am. But, and I told this to Lana, I'm going to kind of spoil. So spoiler, Anthony does leave here. But I did watch Uncloaked, and it was very interesting to watch because they had Anthony out there. They interviewed him. It was not the same Anthony that I know from the show, because he's so serious on the show. And he was a ton of fun watching an Uncloaked. He was just like laughing and jovial. And I'm like, I did not see that from him. And I didn't even see it enough in the very beginning. So I understand why people are saying that now a little bit more, but I still don't think that they were thinking very critically about it, and just considering the situation that they're in and how different people adapt to being in a game. So I think it's completely fair that he had his game face on and that he was taking everything very seriously. But I think Anthony is such a joy, and I would love to hang out with him when he's not playing a game, because he seems like a blast.
Yeah, he can probably does seem very happy and jovial on the interview after the game is over. He ain't got nothing to worry about. It's like, the game's over. I lost. It is what it is. So I can be calm and cool again. But in game mode, I don't understand why people expect him to be that same happy, jovial person in game mode. Nobody questioned Andrew. He's so serious all the time. but he wasn't. He was very happy and everything on the train. We saw him laughing it up and talking it up, but nobody questions his motive, his thing, like his demeanor. I just think it was interesting. It was just interesting, but I was like, I don't know, I don't like it. But Anthony goes home,
and it was a very split vote again. They love to do their split votes, and guess what? 8-1 down.
Because he was 100% always was and will forever be unfaithful. 8-1 down. Bam.
8-1 down. I love that. Like it almost sounds like a new way to say you ate
you
that.
ate 8-1
down.
You ate one down. Oh, I'm adapting. I'm keeping that.
8-1 down, Lana.
You 8-1 down, baby. Period. 8-1 down, baby.
I love that.
Yes, that's gonna be my new thing. That's it. Thank you, Anthony. You gave me something else to say. But yep, 8-1 down, and
Harry's mad. Harry's frustrated, and
because Harry, he was like, I said he wasn't. Yep.
So he's playing it up like because he was the last person to really vouch for Anthony at the round table,
absolutely,
which was smart, especially seeing the writing on the wall. But he just made it so clear with everybody. Like, I'm so frustrated with this, and I think this is only just making people feel even more like Harry is a faithful. Like, I would have no doubt. I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely a faithful.
Charlotte even apologized. Did you see
right?
That?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Harry. I was like, oh, girl, you don't even know.
But he's also.
I mean, go ahead.
He's also annoyed because they're taking out people who are good in competitions,
right?
And they've got to get that money. He's like, y'all are taking money from my bank that I'm going to get by myself.
I will say I'm giving props to Harry in this game. I think Harry's doing a phenomenal job as a trader. And long as he just keeps this act and make people continue to believe that he is truly a faithful, he gonna make it to the end. He gonna make it to the end. And I think he got the trust of Paul and the trust of Miles as well, that he won't go against them. But it's like, I don't know why Miles would trust him, because I'm like, if you saw what happened to Ash, I'm not trusting any one of them.
True.
But I don't know. I think Harry's doing a phenomenal job as a trader. I think he'll be here for a while.
Me too. And I hope so, because honestly, at this point, I think Harry is my favorite person in the game. I really like Harry, Diane, and Jasmine. Those are probably my favorites. And I like Miles. He frustrated me a little bit this episode, but overall, I still do like him.
I still do like Miles. I think Jasmine, Harry,
Diane.
No. Molly.
Okay.
But we'll see.
I think the next important thing in the episode was a conversation. I alluded to it earlier between Paul and Jazz. Yeah, they're talking. Paul has made it clear he wants to try to mend whatever fences they have. And so he's talking to him.
Because they both voted for each other at the round table, by the way.
Yep, they did. And Paul tells Jazz that he heard that Jazz was saying that if he gets murdered, that it was Paul. And Jazz was very confused by this. He's like, how would you have heard this?
He was like,
and freaking Paul.
Paul, he was like, what? You didn't say it? And he was like, oh, no, I said it. He was like, yeah, because Harry told me.
Damn you, Paul. Why are you doing that? Stop.
Harry told me. You said if you get murdered, it's on me. I did it. And he was like, I would. What? He said, but I don't want that to be the case. I want us to not go for each other. I think this is real. We could just squash it right here.
He says, good? I want you to think I'm a faithful, and I want to think you're a faithful. Why would you say, I want you to think I'm a
faithful?
I would say, I want you to know
I'm a faithful. Right. I was like,
weird.
But for me, I would have been like, okay, write that down in my notes. put that in my pocket because somebody said he want me to think he's a faithful. All right. I
Yeah.
think you're faithful.
Well,
But
I think Jazz is maybe
mm,
putting puzzle pieces together because he's like, why would Harry tell Paul that after he said he would keep it a secret? And why didn't Paul bring this up at the round table? See, he definitely still thinks Paul is a traitor after that conversation. I'm
but
hoping he doesn't think Harry is too.
I kind of think he might think Harry might be one. If Paul turns out to be one, I think he's going to be like, oh, I think
Oh
Harry
my
is
gosh,
one too.
Paul.
Paul kind of like that was not a bright move to throw Harry under the bus like that. But like you said, unless Paul is setting planting the seeds so that Harry could get knocked out eventually or found out.
Well,
so we
seems
shall
like
see.
it seems like you might be bringing him down with him, honestly.
That's what I think.
Mhm.
But then we see the traitors go into the room where there's a note waiting for each of them.
Mhm.
And I was like, seems familiar. But the traitors find out that it's not gonna be a meeting tonight. They have to kill in plain sight.
Mhm.
And they're like, what? So they have to go to the library, find these books, get this chalice, and make somebody drink out of said chalice. This crusty old looking chalice. I wouldn't drink out of it. I don't care who gave it to me. It looks dirty, but whatever. They got to go drink out this chalice. And so they have to figure a way to meet. They're like, oh, Lord, how we going to meet? This is where I was like, oh, no, all three of them trying to meet together? I wouldn't do that. Like, I was like, the U.S. did it right. Only two of y'all need to meet. I don't need to meet. Y'all figure it out. I'm going to trust y'all decision. But they all end up meeting by the fire pit outside, and nobody recognizes that they ain't there. But then they start asking, I seen Paul and.
But I think it's probably more common for people to break up into like little groups and chat.
Even though it looked like half of them were in one room.
Right.
I was like, everybody's sitting here together. But Zach was on the move. He was looking around. He's like, I done walked in 4 rooms. I ain't see nobody. It's saying that the cast is getting smaller and smaller. The group is getting smaller and smaller because I don't see nobody. And they're like, oh, where's everybody? So they start wondering. But Paul and Miles and Zach and Harry all meet by the fire pit and they're talking. And they're like, so what do we do? Who do we do? Apparently they came up with a name very quickly. And they're like, this is what we need to do. And this is where I was like, okay, Harry, you really like her? Okay. Because he was like, this is the person I was about to bring up at the secret meeting anyway. So good for us. Let's make it happen.
Well, but this is where I'm critical of Miles once again, because Miles seems very anxious, like excited to be the person to hand off the chalice.
Right.
And I'm like, why? Why would you want to be that person? Because I would not want to risk any suspicion with people like theorizing how the person got murdered. If you do anything out of the ordinary. And I get that he says that he's usually like the bartender for them anyways, but I'm like, you're doing too much. Like if somebody else is willing to do it, let them do it.
But
don't
they weren't
volunteer.
Willing. None of them were willing.
Yeah, I mean, but
I feel like it made sense in a sense that he said he'd already been serving drinks, so it wouldn't look suspicious for him to be handing out drinks. And nobody be like, oh, this is when I drank this from Miles handed it to me. Because he's been giving drinks out regularly to a lot of people. And so it's like, what do you mean? I gave out drinks there. You got a drink for me and you got a drink for me. You ain't dead. So I think he could deflect it if he does it right. But I wouldn't be the one to volunteer to do it either. So I get your point as well. But he volunteered to do it. But he was like, well, somebody else got to go get that chalice. I'm not doing that. And I was like, well, at least you got some sense.
True.
But then these fools couldn't find the dang chalice. I was like,
so this had to
man,
have been comical to you
man.
after seeing the episode where it wasn't that big of a deal finding the chalice for the U.S. traders.
No,
But these
because
guys,
Parvati was like, there it is. You
that's
know
the secret. They
why?
needed a woman.
We needed a woman. That is literally it, because men are just like,
Because Dan
I
couldn't
don't
find
see it. I don't see it. Like, I have two nephews who you be like, go in there and pick up this gray bag that's over there. They'll walk in the room. Bag is clear as day sitting on the corner. I don't see it. What do you mean you don't see it? Go pick up the. They were like, I don't see the book. Look for Macbeth, and it was Macbeth and two other Shakespeare plays.
No.
It was all together, and they were like, I don't. Go get Paul. I don't see it. And go get Paul to bring him in. Paul like, I don't see it either. Oh Lord, this is the hardest part, to find the dang chalice. Finally, Harry finds the dang books. Oh, thank God. Harry was about to call his mom. He's like, I need to call my mom.
Oh, that was funny.
I was like,
He's
oh,
like, if my mom can't find it, then it's definitely lost.
No, so I was like, oh, see, because you need a woman to look, because we look for details. Man. Okay. But Harry finally finds it, passes the chalice off to Miles. Miles goes to work. He goes into the bar. He's like, oh, it's wine in here. And da 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 da. They're like, oh, good, more alcohol. We did it. Everybody's like, yay, alcohol. And so he's pouring and he's filling up the cup, and he has it. He's like, I think this is fizzy. I don't want fizzy. I kind of want flat. No, I want flat. And so, and I'm like, see, US.
Not the fizzy rosé.
I was like, US, this is what I wanted. Because now we know who he gave the cup to before it's over. I was like, or do we know?
Or will she drink out of it?
Will she drink out of it?
Yeah, I was a little confused. Like, wait, is it really Diane? Is it really? But they basically confirmed in Uncloaked. They're like, so we know that they gave it to Diane. And I'm like, oh no, because I don't want Diane to go. I'll be pretty sad. But don't drink it, girl. Don't drink it. Look at how rusty it is.
Sip, Diane.
No.
Sip on it. Sip on it.
But you want the last older cast member to go?
No and yes. But no and yes. I don't care, Diane. Don't sip it. Sip it. It doesn't bother me anymore. What happens if they don't drink it?
And then no one dies.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
but hey, she's not on our draft team.
Nope. Speaking of that, I'm gonna let David jump into the draft update. I don't have the banner for that because I don't.
Okay.
But it's a draft update.
Yes. So we did a draft last time. We each decided to we didn't do that on air.
No, we didn't do it on air. We did it.
Yes. Okay. So off air, we decided to do a draft for this group. So we had 19 people in the game still. And since there were 3 of us, we were like, well, 19 is not exactly divisible by 3. So we decided, since we collectively were all high on Miles, that we would pick Miles as a group choice. So Miles is on all of our teams. But then we took turns. It took 2 full days for us to get our teams because we were slow moving. But
we have lives, people.
We do.
Lives.
Yes, we each drafted 6 additional people. So giving us 7 people total, considering Miles is on all of our teams. And so, yeah, so basically what happens is whoever has the most people or any person left at the very end winning the prize pot, they win the draft. But this has gone very interestingly because here is what has happened. Brian was out first, Team David. Then Ash out next, Team Lana. Meg out next, Team Logan. one down for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we lost Johnny, Team David. Then we lost, I do not have this right in the right order, Tracy, Team Lana. And then Anthony, Team Logan. So, yes, you heard right. We each lost 2 people from our draft team. So we are tied with 5 people left in the game each. Now, Diane is on Logan's team. So if she does bite the dust, then Logan will be down one more person. But just to let you know who's on each team.
I would say.
So Team David consists of Miles, Charlotte, Harry, Paul, and Ross. So I have all
That's
the
a
traitors.
strong team. That was a strong team.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my team. Team Lana is once again Miles, Evie, Jasmine, Jazz, and Zach. That's a good team. I like your
Good
people
team.
on your team.
I like them. A little shaky though, what's a couple, but
Yeah.
still there.
Not the shakiest team, I don't think. Because
No.
Team Logan is Miles, Andrew, Charlie, Diane,
Shit.
Molly, and that is it. I'm nervous for a couple people on Logan's team, Andrew and Diane especially.
Same. But
it'll be interesting.
It'll be interesting. But there's that. And that's the episodes, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
We will be back next week with the remaining episodes of the Traitors. How many episodes are going to be in this series?
Yeah, there's 12 total, so we're halfway done.
We're halfway done.
Yep. I do want to throw up one thing that we skipped over. I wanted to talk about a story we heard from Jazz at the end of the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He decided to open up with the group and talk about how he'd always been so close with his dad. He basically saw his dad as his hero. And then not too long ago, he found out that his dad actually had a secret double life, and he had another family, other kids, another woman that he's still in a relationship with. And he just had to come to terms with the fact that the man that he looked up to and trusted more than anybody had been lying to him. And I think that kind of explained a little bit about how he's been in this game. He's had a hard time trusting people, which is normal, but he's like, if I can't trust my own dad, how am I supposed to easily give my trust to people in this game? So I did want to bring that up because I thought that was a really interesting story. I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that, Lana.
Yeah, that was an interesting story. I'm glad you brought that up because it made sense to, like you said, how he's playing this game and how he's approaching the game. But come to terms with that, somebody who you trust and love so much, and as he said, he looked up to and admired, was living this whole new life and lying to you and your family the entire time. It's kind of hard it's a hard pill to swallow. So I'm glad he was able to share that and open up and maybe it'll make people see him a little differently or see how he's approaching this game. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do and how it's going to affect the game, but I know he looks at trust in a whole different light than a lot of people. A lot of people have trust issues. We know some of us. I mean, I think no, I don't have trust issues, but some people have trust issues, and they don't give their trust so easily, and that's fine. But I think being around all these people in this game, it's so hard to trust anybody.
Yep.
I'm like, I hope it's not triggering for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? I hope it's not triggering for his mental health state, because it can be like, he's already in a place of not trusting, and then you got to go into this other world of continually not trusting, and everybody around you could be lying to you. I hope he says some woosahs or whatever he got to do to get his mind right every day, so it don't take him down into a deep spiral of any kind. So,
I agree. Yeah,
I
because I
love
like
Jazz.
Jazz.
I
We both
do.
said
I
at the same time.
really like Jazz.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And honestly,
Jazz
I
is
think he's
fun,
one
too.
of the faithfuls I have the most hope in that
Mhm.
he could
Mhm.
win. Like Jazz
Yeah.
and Jasmine, I feel like they're two of the stronger faithfuls.
Yeah.
Even if they
And-
don't always have the right reads.
Right.
Jasmine's not always
Her
on.
reads are not always on, but I think Jazz has very better reads than Jasmine. But Jazz is so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna put that out there. I just said
Agree.
that. But all right, that's it, y'all. We've talked enough. We've been here long enough. I know y'all probably like enough already, and you know what? We're gonna cut it out. But we will be back next week to talk about all things Traitors UK. And if you missed any of our episodes about Traitors UK, you could check out all of our previous episodes, and then check us when we talk about Traitors US, because we're doing that too. So follow us on all of our socials at The Cup Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, because we have some funny moments and we're funny people. And subscribe to all of our channels. There will be links at the end card of this, so you can hit the subscribe button to all of our channels: ESC, The Cup Pod, and The Cup TV. And you can follow David and I. We're cool people. We talk about pretty interesting stuff on our Twitters and things. So follow us over there. Get your cup merch. The link will be in the description further down. If you scroll, you can get your mug or any of our merch. And on that note, y'all, cheers. Oh, wait. We the traders, we have to go get ready for we have to go talk and find out who we're gonna murder next. So
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
Cheers.
Bye.
We ate one down with that podcast, Lana.
We ate one down with that podcast.
Yeah.
4 + 40. 8
Yeah.
and 8 one down.